Hello, I'm Dr. Kit Slies, psychologist and life coach, and I'm here to talk to you today to hopefully inspire your confidence, your self-compassion, and your growth. And today I'm talking about our authentic self, how we lose that, how we can lose that, and how that impacts our self-confidence. And so I'll be talking about the self today, and um, there, of course, are a lot of theories of personality that exist, theories on how self develops, self-image, self-concept. Ego is a really big word that's thrown around a lot out there. So this video is not designed to go into all those different theories. A lot of them, many of those theories have value and usefulness. Today, I'm going to be drawing largely from the concept of the authentic self or the congruent self as it pertains to humanistic psychology and the work of Carl Rogers. And again, I'm not going to be doing a deep dive into all of that. I just want to pick out a few key concepts because this is what informs a lot of the work that I do with my clients. I feel like I have also let these concepts informed a lot of my own personal growth and everything. So, so again, I just want to draw from that. And if you're not familiar with Carl Rogers or humanistic psychology, um, that's something you can look up on your own. But I just want to say, like, the main tenet that I feel is important, that a truth that I try to hold the space for myself and for all my clients, is that from a humanistic psychology perspective, it's a holistic perspective that takes the whole person into consideration. But the belief that fuels so much of the work that's done from that lens, the belief is that as humans, we have an innate tendency towards growth, and that all things being equal and without any barriers in place, it is our natural tendency to move toward fulfilling our potential. Self-actualization is a term you might have heard thrown around there. And so that is something that I believe to be fundamentally true. And why that's important is because, remember, I said that we're going to move towards our full potential. We're going to naturally grow when all things are being equal and when there's no barriers. And we run into issues when we encounter barriers. And one of the main barriers has to do with losing touch with our authenticity, our authentic self. And so from Carl Rogers' perspective, this the way that our personality and our self-image develops starts in childhood, which is true of any personality theory. But we run into issues and barriers are created in something called conditions of worth. And so what a condition of worth is when somebody in our life, usually our caregivers or our primary caregivers, are place conditions on us for how we need to show up in this world in order to receive full love and affection from those people. So this is as opposed to unconditional love or not placing any conditions on a person. So this, what happens with a child who's developing when there are conditions on their worth is the child has to learn how to behave in a particular way in order to receive the full love, acceptance, and affection from their family. And if the way the child is expected to behave does not align with their true self, their ideal self, then the way they are showing up in the world, their actual real way they're showing up, you could tell, is the actual self, the real self, Those are two different things. And that creates incongruence. It can create also a lot of other things, namely anxiety, because think about it, we are not mind readers. And so when a condition is placed on us of how we are supposed to be acting in order to be loved and accepted, that condition can change. It could be fluid, and we can't read the other person's mind to know exactly, well, what do they mean by I'm supposed to show up as, you know, vivacious and lively and the life of the party, when maybe really deep down I'm an introvert. And what does that even mean to be the life of the party? Like, I'm trying to show up, I'm trying to tell jokes, but it's not what they're wanting. And so now I'm feeling so much anxiety because despite all my efforts to try to show up in this way, I'm not feeling accepted still. And so that's just one example. There's so many different ways that conditions can be placed on us. They can be very subtle ways too of conditions. And so what happens is that creates anxiety. And we also lose confidence. We lose self-confidence because we are so focused on what those conditions are, that the other person, the expectations really of other people, we're so focused on that we lose touch with what our own needs and desires and expectations are. And so from a Carl Rogers perspective, what he would say is that our ideal self, sort of the ideal self, is like sort of who you're meant to be, who you were born as, and you know that deep down. We all know this deep down, what that is. Sometimes it's covered up and it's hard to get to, but Carl Rogers would say that the ideal self is totally incongruent from the actual self, the way that you're showing up in the world, because of the conditions that are placed on us. And I think a really important thing to remember is that when we yield to those conditions, that's an okay thing to do. As children, we're very powerless. We need to conform to conditions in order to receive love and acceptance, because love and acceptance is a basic human need, essentially. Like, our brains, we have so many studies and research that shows that as infants and toddlers, when we do not receive emotional comfort, our brains get really messed up, and so we do not develop properly. So it is normal and okay to conform to those conditions in order to get love and acceptance and to survive and to thrive in that environment. But as we get older, our job is to hopefully try to find situations where we feel unconditionally accepted, where we are accepted for our true ideal self, just the way that we are. And by doing that, we can show up, our real self can show up in a way that is congruent, more congruent with our ideal self, the self that we are meant to be. So, so again, we lose confidence when there are those conditions placed on us. And I want to also go into, so our job is to get to know ourselves. Our job is to try to find those situations that feel like we are unconditionally loved and accepted, and to try to foster that for ourselves with self-compassion and with self-compassion and checking in with ourselves. I've talked a lot about how getting to know our feelings and emotions is an important thing, because that's a barometer, that's a guide of what our ideal self is wanting and needing. And so if we know our true selves, our ideal selves, if we know who we are, what our needs are, we don't have to guess. We don't have to guess about what all these other conditions that people are placing on us. And that fuels confidence. We can be confident in decisions, in actions that we take. We can be confident in our thoughts because there's no guesswork involved. Now, I want to take a moment here to just explain a little bit about what I mean by confidence. Sort of the dictionary definition, if you Google it, is one of the definitions that confidence is the state of feeling certain about the truth of something. Now, that definition can be deceiving, because when I read that, I think okay, so if I'm certain about something, then there's no fear or something like that. And the reality is that I think that confidence is not the absence of fear. Um, the certainty that you experience in confidence, or self-confidence in particular, is being so in touch with yourself and your needs that when you are faced with a decision, even if the decision is a scary decision, even if the choice that you want to make feels scary, you can confidently take action because you are so certain that that action will align with your authentic, congruent self, your ideal self. So that is just a very brief, high level overview of um, how we lose our authentic self, why it's important to seek that out, the authenticity, and how that fuels and fosters our self-confidence. And I hope that you found this helpful today. And on that note, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.